I had some thoughts on this week's Torah portion, this week's Parshat, that I'd like to offer you. Plenty of doctors in this room. Ask a doctor what protects a healthy body. And you might expect him to say, it's the muscles, it's the bones, it's a strong heart. But we know that the deepest protection in the human body is none of those things. It's something far quieter. It's the constant, invisible work of millions of cells recognizing each other as belonging to the same body. When that recognition holds, the body fights off illness without our ever noticing. But when that recognition breaks down, when the body loses the ability to know its own as its own, the body begins to attack itself. Doctors call this autoimmune disease. The danger was never from the outside. It was from a failure of recognition within. This week, we read a double portion, Matot-Masei, which means tribes and journeys. It's found at the end of the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 30 through chapter 36. It closes out this book. Next week, we start Devarim. In the second half of this week's portion, the Torah does something unusual. It lists one after the other every place the Israelites camped in their 40 years of wandering. One after the other, 42 stops we made in 40 years. The Torah is taking us through a travel log. And then in the middle of the list, the Torah suddenly stops and tells us in chapter 33, verse 38, Aaron the Cohen ascended Mount Hor at the command of the Lord, and he died there. The Torah has not been retelling stories in this section. It's been listing locations. It hasn't finished. Why pause for a single death notice? Jewish tradition draws a connection to another loss. For 40 years in the wilderness, the people had been surrounded by the clouds of glory, miraculous clouds that sheltered and protected them from every direction. The sages teach that these clouds existed in Aaron's merit. When Aaron died, the clouds disappeared. And soon after, we come under attack. Here's what makes this connection so interesting. Aaron wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a military strategist. The Mishnah describes him in one of the most beautiful lines in the Torah as someone who loved peace and pursued peace. That's Aaron. Everybody knows Aaron the peacemaker. He went from quarreling neighbor to quarreling neighbor, from estranged friend to estranged friend, from husband to wife. His entire life's work was helping people to see each other again. Jewish tradition is making a quietly radical claim. When Aaron was alive and people felt connected to one another, the entire nation was protected. When he died, and the recognition between people began to fray, the protection itself disappeared. And here's what's mind-blowing. A people, a family, a community, a nation held together in exactly the same way the body is, not primarily by the muscle, not by the bone, not by the strong defenses on the outside, but by the constant, invisible work of recognizing one another as belonging to the same body. When that recognition holds, even hard moments can be absorbed. Disagreements stay disagreements. Tension stays tension. But the body works through it. But when the recognition breaks down, when people begin to see one another as foreign, as the problem, as something to be defeated, the same body begins to attack itself. So the danger was never from the outside. Aaron understood that. His life's work was not to defeat enemies. It was to keep his people recognizing each other as their own. So here's the question. Who in our own lives have we stopped recognizing as our own? That's waiting for us to see them that way again. So with that, I want to thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.